Hello, my name is Opal Amelio, and for my photo analysis presentation, I chose immigration. The reason why I chose immigration is because this topic personally resonates with me the most because I have my grandmother who came into the US in the 70s, just recently became a US citizen, and it took her a very long time to do that, even though she has been a contributing member to, you know, society. So let's move on to this presentation. So for the first photo, I chose to take a picture of my passport. This passport represents how access to legal documentation is unequal. A person's race, class, and nationality strongly influence whether they can move freely or are criminalized for migration. The harm doesn't come from the movement itself, but from the systems that ties human rights to citizenship. So the next picture, I just went outside my backyard and took a picture of the wall that, borders, from my side to my neighbor's side. So uh, the reason why I decided to take a picture of the wall was because it illustrates how borders don't only exist at national boundaries. Immigration enforcement extends into everyday spaces through laws, surveillance, and exclusion. Even though this wall is just ordinary, it symbolizes how social control limits movement and belonging for immigrants, creating harm beyond the physical border. So for my next picture, I went in by businesses, local businesses, and I noticed this no trespassing sign. So I took a picture of it. So I chose a no trespassing sign because it represents how immigration is treated as a security issue rather than a human rights issue. The fear created is not based on criminal behavior, but being perceived as a threat simply for existing in a space without authorization. There you go. So for my next photo, I took a picture of an American flag on top of a bank. And the reason why I decided to do this was because the American flag on the bank highlights the relationship between national identity and economic power. While immigrants contribute significantly to the United States economy through labor, taxes, and consumption, they are often excluded from protections and benefits tied to citizenship. This image reflects how economic reliance exists alongside exclusion from belonging, creating a form of social harm rooted in policy. So for this next picture, there's a lot of construction happening around my neighborhood. So it's very easy for me to go and take a picture of the construction of the homes that they're building. So the reason why I chose to take a picture of the construction site is because immigrant labor is essential to building homes and sustaining local economies. Despite this economic dependence, immigrants are often denied social and legal belonging through immigration policy and exclusionary practices. This creates a form of social harm where communities benefit from immigrant labor while simultaneously treating immigrants as outsiders or security, which is funny because they're the ones who build the homes in these really upscale neighborhoods, but they'll never really be able to afford these homes. And here is my little thing about this slide. Okay, on to the next slide. So, in the city of Henderson, if these housing developments get built, they have to put in a playground. So this was actually the perfect time for me as the construction is happening to take a picture of a playground that's happening by my home. So the reason I chose an empty playground because it symbolizes how immigration enforcement affects families and children. Even though playgrounds are meant to be safe community spaces, fear of surveillance, detention, or deportation can prevent families from participating in everyday life. This shows how immigration policy produces social harm beyond those directly targeted. So on one of my trips to California, I was going by like a farming area and I noticed kind of like the dead piece of land going on, so I decided to take a picture of it. So I chose an empty field, well, a dead field, because agriculture in the United States is heavily dependent on immigrant labor. When immigration enforcement creates fear, entire industries and communities are affected. This image demonstrates exclusion not only harming immigrants, but also the economic system that relies on their labor. This is another example of this being a social harm. And for my final image, I chose, while I was on my trip to California, I was at the sand dunes, which is like the desert area, kind of near the border. And I decided to take a picture of this landscape with the sunset in the background because it symbolizes how immigration enforcement relies on deterrence through danger. The desert becomes a tool of exclusion where fear and risking and risk replace safety and support. Even though migration itself is not a criminal act, policies that frame it as a security threat forces people into harmful conditions, creating social harm beyond the legal system. And this is the little slide for this picture. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak about this issue. And I hope you guys have a really good day. This is the best as we're going to do.